How's it going, everybody? That's Todd Fox. I'm Fernando, the Lone Star Halo. We are going to talk about Patrick Sandoval, Miguel Sano, and are the Angels sellers? And also Todd Hatu. Just kidding. All that and more.
Hey, you are now listening or watching the Halos in the Infield podcast, sponsored in part by Noble L Works over on 1621 South Sinclair, where you can get discounts by just mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield. Drink discounts on us, baby. And also by 714 Tickets, 714 Tickets, 714 Tickets. The price you see is the price you get, and you also get 10% additionally off in the Apply Now code once you order your tickets just by mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield. Now enjoy the show.
In the land of Astros, I play my part with the Halos in the infield. I'll make my mark. I'm the Lone Star Halo, shining bright tonight. In a sea of Rangers, I'll stand and fight with the Halos in the outfield under stadium lights. From Texas to Anaheim, we'll soar to new heights. We'll soar to new heights.
Hey, welcome into another episode of the Halos in the Infield podcast show, along with Fernando, the Lone Star Halo, and myself, Todd Fox. You heard the topics before the show started, so let's get into it, shall we, Fernando?
Yeah, let's start with probably the biggest news, which is Patrick Sandoval going down for, most likely the next year and a half. That tends to be the timeline for this type of thing, Tommy John surgery. So you had mentioned earlier, we talked off air, that the second, when you were doing the live stream, the second you kind of saw him playing with his fingers, you knew he was cooked.
Pretty much.
So what was your thought process there? Is it just burned too many times as an Angels fan, or?
Oh, I think the thought process was, okay, I played with a couple guys who had that same exact elbow injury. And then I also seeing it as an Angel fan way too many times, like a broken record since 2015. You could kind of diagnose it without actually diagnosing it. So
Yeah, you have to be a doctor on TV now.
yeah, exactly. So it was one of those things where yeah, you know what, it looks like he's cooked, and it would have been a pleasant surprise had they come out and said, okay, he's just got an elbow strain. I think we would have all wanted that to happen, but it didn't happen. The obvious took place.
So today's question of the day has to do with Patrick Sandoval, and there was quite a few people who surprisingly were like, "Oh, this guy's having a bad year. Who cares? It's not a loss." So there was a few people who said that, but you and I can kind of think about the bigger situation with this. This is a big deal for this already struggling, rotation
Mm-hmm.
and roster, right? This is one of the worst things that could have possibly happened to the starting rotation.
Correct. It's one of these things that we talked about too, where this organization isn't built for this. We don't have the starting pitching to just say, okay, this guy went down, let's pluck from here, here, and here, or let's see what these two guys can do, and the best one gets the job for right now. Like we talked about having Sam Bachman, Wantz, Rosenberg, quite, maybe in a month or so, getting Reed Detmers adjusted, mindset wise, and he could be an option. None of those guys are ready. Most of them are hurt, and we're throwing a reliever tomorrow. So it's just like you said, worst case scenario for a team that's already very thin skinned pitching wise.
Yeah. So Patrick Sandoval, let's go over his yearly numbers in terms of innings pitched, guys. 2019, 39.1 innings. 2020, 36.2. 2021, 87. 2022, he had 148 innings pitched. That's his career high so far. 2023, 144 innings. And this year, he was already about to touch 80 innings.
Yeah. He's logged some innings. I will say this, Fernando. He's only given us like one really bad start where he only went like, I think, not 3 innings, which he did a lot last year. This year, he's even in losses, which has been most of his starts or no decisions. He's gone 6 or 7, consistent. So you're right. He's been a workhorse, so to speak, just like Griffin Canning, just like our boy Tyler Anderson. These guys have put in some pretty good innings. And that's going to be another innings eater down for us.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. So this rotation was already stretched thin, right? You don't know what's going to happen with Soriano just yet. We hope that he has a very short IL stint, but jury's out. Reed Detmers got lit like a firecracker today in Salt Lake City. 5 earned runs. I think he didn't even make it out of the first inning. If memory
That's
serves, 5 runs in the first inning on 2 home runs.
that's not good because he's not exactly readjusting down there. And I think it was
Well,
James.
let me finish. He did pitch 6 innings, and that's good. And he struck out 10, and he only gave up 1 walk.
Okay, that changes things a little bit then. Because I was going to say Chase Silseth has made 2 starts down there and doesn't look good either.
Yeah, but he did get called up today.
Oh, he did. Okay, so I'm behind on that one.
Yeah, he's with the Major League Club already, as is Miguel Sano. And then Michael Stefanik went down.
And he didn't get a fair shake, in my opinion. I thought, you got to let him get some at-bats. And they were doing the same thing they were doing with Kevin Pillar. Okay, he's a right-handed hitter. Let's not use him. And again, his defense has not been a liability. I saw Brandon Drury spike a ball. Like they were all saying that he's so good, and he's back out with soreness. So he's been a complete disaster. And then, we'll get into Pillar later, but that's another dude. It's like, come on, man. Like these. I don't understand some of these moves, Fernando. Like I'm scratching my head a lot more times than often.
Yeah, you've already kind of said it a couple of times with Stefanik specifically. Let's address that one first. You've already said that this guy's pissed in someone's Cheerios for sure.
Yep.
I don't know if he slept with someone's wife. Something happened. You know what I mean? I'm not making that joke because I think he's that kind of guy. I'm simply saying, like, this organization, for whatever reason, never wants to give him an opportunity.
Correct.
We can all agree that this team is in desperate need of some offense. And Miguel Sano was doing decently offensively when he went down. So I understand we want to give this guy a shake. But if the whole argument right now is, hey, let's give these young guys an opportunity, I want to see what Michael Stefanik can do with a full sample size. The guy's a pure hitter. But I don't think this organization really values pure hitters.
Nope.
David Fletcher was kind of always viewed as a pure hitter. And yeah, he struggled. But the organization was never really sold on him. And Michael Stefanik kind of profiles like a David Fletcher type guy.
Yeah. And the thing is with Stefanik, even like last night's game, right? He's hitting the ball, he's squaring it up, but he's like I think his last 12 at bats, he didn't get a hit, but he was hitting the ball very hard and he was going the opposite way. I mean, he hit into like 2 line drives, he hit some balls that the right fielder was shading him to right field. He pulled one where the guy made a nice play at short. So it's not for the fact that he's up there like some of these other hitters that we've brought up at several times during the season where they're just K'ing. They're K'ing left and right, making no contact, putting the ball not in play. He's been putting it in play. It's just he hasn't gotten that luck. So I would, like you said, why are we giving 100 or 200 at bats to one of these other guys and a guy like Stefanik, who I believe and you believe has more upside, continue to just yo-yo around again?
Okay, let me ask you this. So I believe now Michael Stefanik is out of minor league options after, this time when they bring him back up, he now joins the Suarez and Mickey Moniak club where, they didn't have any options. Okay. So with that being said, what are the odds that this is a desperate attempt to try to give Sano a little bit of playing time over the next 2 or 3 weeks? So when the trade deadline comes, in a month, it's, hey, this guy's hot. Hey, he got hurt or he was hot, got hurt, and now he's hot again. Who wants this guy? And then they call up Stefanik. What are the odds that it's something like that?
Very slim, because I think we talked about this earlier. The thing to do would be flipping these players, these 1-year guys, these guys who've come off the scrap heap to actually show value would be the way to go. But do we trust our organization to make these smart moves? Hell no. Until proven, otherwise, I think the narrative is the Angels will do the exact wrong thing when it comes to the deadline. So me and you are in this state, I believe, of we know what they should do. and we will only be excited if they do what they should do. And that's the best case scenario is if that's like you said, Sano comes off the scrap heap, off the injured list, and starts really hitting. And then one of these teams is like, you know what? We could use another infielder slash outfielder or a DH. We could use another bat off the bench, and they'll throw us something. Something's better than nothing. What we've gotten, Fernando, with our players, including our big unicorn, is a whole lot of nothing.
So there's and I'll give them credit for this. Your boys over at Super Halo Bros, they suggested that the Angels look for teams like the Orioles in a trade partner. So the Orioles are looking for pitching, right?
Okay.
We have Tyler Anderson, and the biggest question is going to be: do they trade Anderson now that Sandoval's hurt? Unfortunately, I feel like that could be a reason why they keep him because their thought process is, well, hey, then we're going to have to replace Sandoval. We're going to have to replace Anderson, and we don't have any pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. That's a valid concern. But at that point, F it, just get whoever. You know what I mean? Send you out there. It doesn't matter anymore. I want to build for the future, not really care about this year. Anyway, so with that being said, the Halo Bros have brought up a guy named Connor Norby. He's been with the Orioles for about 3 years now. He's in their AAA system. He had a short sip of coffee with the Orioles. In 249, excuse me, in 249 at bats, he's batting 285 this year with 11 home runs and 43 RBIs. And he is a career 283 hitter with 1,412 minor league at bats. He plays up the middle. He has the ability to play second base. And the problem in Baltimore is there's a logjam.
Okay.
Is that a guy who, valued prospect, but he's not a top 10 prospect? He probably is for us, but for the Orioles, it's just another dude. Tyler Anderson, for a guy like Connor Norby, the Angels need a second baseman of the future. They don't have one. Is that the kind of guy they should be looking for, in your opinion, or would you like to see Anderson go for a pitcher?
Well, obviously you try the pitcher first, but if you can't do that, maybe you go for Norby and a reliever, a guy that's on the cusp of being a good reliever, and then you could try to parlay it that way.
So like what Ty Buttrey was for the Red Sox when we got him for Ian Kinsler, like that kind of thing. We got a 4A type of reliever.
Yeah, we got a pitcher that potentially could work into what Buttrey did, which was a setup guy. And I think I'd be fine with that. You get your second baseman and you get a possible setup guy after Estevez goes and whoever else is going to be left in that bullpen, whether we go with Joyce or whoever to close. I think that would be a nice move. I like the hitter that you just described because, yeah, I mean, we all know Drury's not going to be back next year. The jury's still out on, no pun intended, on Renifo. And so, who knows what Stefanik's value is for the next GM or for Perry moving forward. So, yeah, getting a second baseman with those kind of numbers would already be leading the team in most categories. So, yeah, I think that would be a smart move.
Yeah, because the Angels need a pair with a team that doesn't want to spend too much money because $13.3 million next year is a very team-friendly, contract. And the Angels need prospects. Major League ready prospects, sure. Because the hope is that this team's going to contend. And I don't mean contend for a World Series. I mean like flirt with a playoff opportunity in 2 years. That's kind of the hope.
Yeah.
We'd like to think that maybe at the end of this year, we start taking a couple of steps forward. Like, as the season goes on, some of these young guys really start to put it on. Maybe we finish the season in third place. Maybe we're 4 games under 500 all of a sudden. You know what? I would take that. Shanuel takes a step forward. Neto, Ohapi, these guys take a positive step forward. That's a win to me.
Yeah, I agree that they're definitely going to need some. They're going to need some help to get stronger in the future. And I know you talked about Tyler Anderson being a guy that maybe you flirt with the opportunity to extend. And with a pitcher like him,
Well,
we
we
would.
said that off air for the record, so I don't think anybody knew
Oh
that.
yeah, my bad, my bad. But
Well,
you said,
so Todd and I talked earlier this morning, and I had told him, like, okay, hey, so option A, you trade Tyler Anderson right now. Or I told Todd, how would you feel if instead they add 2 years to his contract? They keep him at about 13.3 million. I don't know. You go up to 14, 15. Okay, that's fine. You're not going too crazy, but if you're talking 20 or whatever, yeah, of course not. And I asked Todd, how would you feel about that? So they keep him next year. They extend him 2 additional years, and he's like in the 14 million range. And all of a sudden, because this year he's definitely pitching like an ace caliber type guy. I don't think he's officially an ace, but he's the best thing we have possibly for the next 2 or 3 years. And I asked Todd, would you be okay with that extension? And Todd said,
just depending on if where the direction of the organization is, if we're adding another couple pitchers that are 2s and 3s, at least the caliber just below Anderson, I think you can put together a solid rotation with the youth guys. But if we are not flirting with winning and not really trying, we don't have a direction. It would be nonsense to keep him. Like he's like literally he's that. I brought up the analogy this morning. He's that girlfriend that the sex is great, you like hanging out, but it's very toxic, and that she's not marriage material. You want to move on and be married. She's just wild and crazy, and she seems to bring some good things, but more trouble than good because you're not where she's at, that kind of thing, and you got to let her go. And, you don't want her to go, but you got to let her go. And are we going to stay for bad reasons with him, or are we going to actually utilize it for our benefit and move on?
let's real quick. I pulled up the 2025 free agent MLB starting pitchers. All right, let's go.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. Okay. So next year, and there's a couple of you guys I can tell you now are not going to be free agents. All right, Corbin Burns. I could see him hitting the free agency market. But the Angels don't spend money on pitching, so I don't see him coming here.
I don't either.
Zach Wheeler, I don't think he leaves Philadelphia. I think they keep him. It's going to depend on what they do, but I don't think he leaves.
It depends. Like if they win a World Series, I could see him leaving. But if they don't, I could see him staying because then Phillies will be like, we're this close. We got to keep him.
I think that's what's going to happen. They'll have a deep playoff run, but they're not going to win, right? It's the Phillies.
Mm.
Okay, number 3, Max Scherzer. He's going to be 41, I believe. At that
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it either, but that's an already move. You know what it is. Hey, let's give him a 4-year deal, huh?
With a player option for 5.
Yeah, right. This one's going to make Randy go crazy. Shane Bieber.
I think the ship sailed on that one. I liked him before all the injury stuff, but now I believe.
But I'm on the same boat. It's just how much can you really try? It's like Noah Syndergaard when he hit the open market. You know what I mean? It's Shane Bieber, great pitcher, tons of potential, but he is only 30. It depends on how much he wants.
Yeah,
I would give him an incentive-driven contract and then only pay him maybe like $10 million, and he can make up to like $20 million.
Yeah, knowing us, we would probably offer 1 year and 10 plus incentives, like you said, and then watch him have a really good year and then move on.
No, I can see him having a really good year, and we're like, hey, this is a guy, and the Angels give him like a 7-year deal, and he turns into Rendon.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Angels would do.
I can see that.
All right. We won't go too much farther. Brandon Woodruff. I wouldn't do it. Here's an interesting one. Max Fried. Does Atlanta let him go? And B, do we need another lefty in this rotation?
Well, I don't know, man. I mean that sounds like an Artie move too. I think even Woodruff does too. I think Woodruff would be another incentive guy.
Yeah, he's going to be 32, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to say that the free agent market as far as pitchers. I think we talked about this off air too. It's just not that sexy. We have to start drafting, man. Like.
Well, hold up. There's one guy who I wanted to bring up, and I saved him for last. I mean, there's a couple of other guys if you guys want to check it out. This one is one I could see the Angels for once going all in on. Walker Bueller. You know,
Oh,
he's not from too far away. You know, coming down from the I-5, has an injury history.
mm-hmm.
But when Walker Bueller is on, he is on. And if there's one guy who I've seen who I don't know why, I've always thought to myself, that guy's going to be an Angel one day, it's Walker Bueller. Don't know
Bro,
why. He just reeks Ari Moreno to me.
bro, you know me and the Dodgers. And I don't like Dodger trash. I consider any kind of free agent coming from the Dodgers, Dodger trash. However, I would love to get Bueller because I'm with you. He's a guy that when he came through the first couple seasons and I saw him pairing up with Kershaw during the season, I was like, damn it, this might be the guy to push him over the top.
Yeah, I was scared of him for sure.
Yeah, and I still am. I think this year he's going to suck because, the year after Tommy John, you're not consistent. You're working out the cobwebs.
Yeah.
But my goodness.
Kinks.
Yeah, my goodness. If you think about it, bro, yeah, he's going to be wanting the contract, but he's going to want to live up to it because he didn't have that, 2 years to, he had the injury last year and then he's coming off of it this year. So he hasn't done much in 2 years. So he's going to kind of get lowballed, but it plays to the advantage of the Dodgers, but it also plays to the advantage of the Angels. And boy, oh boy, I would love for them to steal him from the Dodgers because he's got the freaking TJ out of the way. So, it should be good from here on out.
The problem with the Angels is they haven't been known for having successful reclamation projects.
Yes.
That's the only thing that worries me. Now, I would see them going after him if they were to give, have at least a solid August and a solid September. Because here's the thing. Walker Bueller strikes me as a dude who wants to be the dude.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that he's not going to be the dude in LA anymore, right? They got Tyler Glass now. They have Shohei Ohtani, who's going to be pitching next year. And then they have Yamamoto. So with that being said, we're automatically talking, at best, Walker Bueller being a number 4. Because the ace of that staff, I feel like, is always going to be Shohei Ohtani, right? He's going to be the guy for them. He's going to be the front page dude. And Yamamoto is certainly not a bad number 2. Tyler Glasnow, great number 3 because he's a guy who's probably number 1 for most rotations in baseball. When he's on, same thing. Very good pitcher. Walker Bueller has ace caliber stuff, right? So with that being said, we're talking about him being number 4. I mean, and they always keep Kershaw around. They're going to sign him probably to another 1-year deal next year. So boom, there's a rotation if they keep Bueller. But I don't know. Something tells me the Dodgers are going to be like, we don't need Bueller, right? We already have these other guys. Ohtani's coming. They'll take an L on him, in my opinion. Let him walk.
That'd be crazy to see where he was, Mr. Close to being Cy Young just a couple years ago before the injury, very dominant in the postseason. Yep. Kershaw was the reason why they lost all those playoffs. It wasn't him, So I really, really would love to take Bueller on because he does have fantastic stuff, and you would couple him with See, that's the thing. I would, if we still didn't trade Anderson, we went into next year with signing Bueller, having Soriano, and keeping Anderson, and then whatever they do with Griffin Canning if he's a number 5, and then add a 4th starter. Potentially, that's a pretty good squad next year, and you fill in the holes with the young hitters, and who knows? That's
fair. I mean, so yeah, Bueller, Anderson, Soriano, Canning. I like Detmers at 5.
Yeah, I mean, if we go Detmers or Silseth or someone there at 5, they're
see, if we're talking about Detmers with the 4 ERA, that's much different than expected to be number 1, number 2.
Correct.
And then keep in mind, I would think that next year, that's when Dana would be fighting for a starting rotation spot. They need to do that kid a favor. He's doing really well in the minors. Don't push him. If all goes well, you can push him to AAA this year. And I understand they don't like putting pitching prospects in AAA because it ruins their confidence or whatever. But this double A to major league jump hasn't worked out for us yet, really.
Not
For
and
our
see that and getting a couple free agents to fill that rotation would give Dana most of next year. And depending on where the team is, you may not even need to use him until August or September. So that would likely be the best way to go about it. Give the kid enough time down there to get himself straightened out. And
and
that's
then
why,
next year, maybe just use him for some spot starts here and there, and that's so he can make his debut. Hey, come up, dip your kid in the water, dip your toe in the water, have a sip of coffee,
yeah,
spot start. Maybe we'll put you in like the bullpen because hey, Silseth was a little tired last outing, just in case. Okay, go back to the minors. Thanks for your help. He got 15 innings here, dipped his toe in. Maybe next time you bring him back for 2 or 3 starts in a row, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? You acclimate him.
yeah. I mean, that's the best case scenario. And that goes for hitting too. I mean, you get a few hitters, you can keep these guys like Jordan Adams and a few others down in the minors, let them work on their skills and develop something instead of rushing them through. And then even if we don't get a Walker Bueller and we're still holding on to Anderson, surround him with a couple number twos. You don't necessarily have to go for an ace, whether via trade or free agency. You do that. And then if you're able to do that, you could have something to where you can start building the depth in the minors, because it happens every year, Fernando. There's guys who will just make the next jump who weren't expected to do anything in single A, and all of a sudden they're in Rocket City starting to play. There's quite a few players like that a lot of people are like, why do the Angels have this guy one year? Then the next year they find themselves. And then before you know it, they're knocking on the door in Salt Lake. So that can happen if you have the right kind of depth at the major league level. You give every level a chance to learn and hone in on their skills and get better. And then you find some diamonds in the rough sometimes.
Absolutely. And that's what this organization has just routinely failed to do lately, right? I mean, that's the one thing I'll definitely say. I said it before, I'll say it again about Billy Epler. Seemed to be really good at finding bullpen pitcher diamond in the roughs. Your Blake Parker's, your Hansel Robles. That was his name. I was like, and then I stopped. Yeah, Hansel Robles. David Hernandez. These were guys that, were kind of Bud Norris.
Yeah.
These were guys that were nobodies, or they were somebodies. Like Bud Norris was a good starting pitcher, fell off. So that's what Perry hasn't really been able to do. Find those bullpen guys who are diamonds in the rough. I mean, there's been a couple.
Yeah, he's done a few things, but he hasn't been exactly a good eye for talent. And it just seems that moving forward, this team's got to change or find the right direction, because we talked about it too this morning. When's the last time you brought it up that this team's had a legitimate ace? And, we haven't had one that scared anybody since Weaver. And, we brought up
that, like you said.
Yeah. And we haven't had we had that draft with 20 pitchers, and look how many of them have panned out. And we're both jealous of these teams that can bring up a Skeens or can do like what Detroit and Kansas City, has, where 90% of their rotation is through the system and they're all growing up together. And that would be amazing as Angel fans. We would be able to take some mediocre years knowing that, hey, man, these guys in a couple of years, this is going to be a scary ass rotation. We just don't have that yet. And we don't even have that with a lineup. And I think that's where we're kind of tired of, because if we were focusing in on the lineup, we would already have something. We'd have a murderous row. We don't have that. So it's like, I think they need to switch it up and start focusing more on pitching.
Yeah, one thing I do want added to this lineup is I do want a power guy.
Yeah.
Not a lot of power guys. I love contact hitters. I love slappers. I love guys who get on base. But this organization does not have a consistent power threat. Trout can be that at times, but, he's hurt and Ohtani's not here anymore. He was the power threat. So now you need just a little bit of protection behind some of these guys. So, Shanuel gets something to hit at the top of the lineup. So maybe Ward gets something to see and hit because Ward's not a power guy. He can potentially get you like 20 home runs a year, 20 to 25, and that's great for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap up with this unless you have anything afterward. So Sandoval, in theory, is gone until 2025, the end of that season. Maybe we might see him in like September if all goes well, for a start or two,
Mm-hmm.
just to go into the offseason healthy. Okay, so with that being said, so he's done. Is that bad for the Angels' plan to potentially sell off chunks of this team? Because now you got to worry about, well, who's going to pitch? Did that ruin the Angels selling, or do you think it didn't affect it, or did it make it better?
I think it might have helped it a little bit because when a Soriano comes back, he's going to eat some innings, and then some of these other pitchers may be thrown into a high pressure situation to where they might actually perform really good. And then that could open some eyes either for the organization to think twice about them for next year, or it could be open their eyes and other teams' eyes for a potential trade. So it kind of helps, but then it doesn't because you wanted to see if Sandoval could have a strong second half. He was starting to find himself a little bit. And if he could finish, it doesn't really matter about the record. It would have meant more about him keeping the walks to a minimum and pitching innings. And he was doing both of those. And so that's the frustrating thing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Fernando, but when he comes back or he's scheduled to come back before 2026, isn't that right before the next World Baseball Classic?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I believe it's 2027.
Yeah. So I mean, he could be pitching his way back onto that team as well.
Yeah, 2026 World Baseball Classic.
So he
I
could.
don't think the organization would let him at that time.
Does he have an opt out?
Well, I don't. When does his contract officially end? I know we're getting very close.
Yeah, it's got to be close because we've had him under our control for quite some time since we got him from Houston.
Yeah, trying to pull it up when his arbitration years are over. So he's a free agent in 2027. So he's got this year, next season, and then 2026, and that's his last year. So in theory, he only has one more year as an Angel because this year's a lost cause. He's cooked almost all of next year, most likely. So 2026 is it.
I would have to say this early prediction, bro. I think he gets in a start or two, like you said, in 2025, auditions a little bit, and applies for Team Mexico and says, hey, man, like, this is an important season to me. I'm going to ball out like I did a few years ago with you guys. And I think he has a really good World Baseball Classic again. And possibly, if he's not traded somehow, a very good 2026 for the Angels before he departs.
Yeah, because actually, the funny part is if you look at the available pitchers for that potential year, he was one of the names that was like the most coveted on that list. And I don't know, like Jose Suarez, I get it. There's no appeal to him. But a guy like Detmers or a guy like Sandoval, I guarantee you out of the 30 teams, I guess 29 because we don't count in that, I would say 18 of them would probably take a flyer on Sandoval or Detmers. They have enough potential. We're not talking about Suarez here, guys. We're talking about two number 2 caliber type guys.
Yeah.
So, all right, yeah, this should obviously throw them towards selling.
Mm-hmm.
I fear it's going to do the opposite because they're going to be like, well, we can't get rid of Anderson now. We'll just trade him in the off season. But yeah, you have to trade him now. You're going to get a lot more back in their place. It's the right thing to do.
Well, yeah, you think about you think about this. Let's just say he finishes a season here and wherever he goes, finishing what 2.65 ERA maybe, right? I think he's at a 2.2 right now. But let's just say
he's the best ERA right now.
Yeah, if he finishes with a 2.6, that's still hella good. So you give a team a playoff run, possibly a World Series, depending on where you go, and then you come back next year and you're still in control of that team that made a deep run or got to the playoffs or even won the damn thing, that's going to pay off for that particular franchise. And I think that could be the selling point, because you're not just getting a decent pitcher where that you could put at number 3 or 4. He's the ace of our team, and he's definitely pitched like an ace. He's found his stuff. He's pitching the best. He's even better than with the Dodgers. So I think that's a good selling point, and you could get, possibly, at least 2 good players back, maybe 3, and possibly 4 if you throw Renifo in there if the team wants him.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I think it's worth it. I mean, these are not half season rentals. Those are 2 guys that you brought up consistently that's got to be appealing to another team. Like, hey man, you get another year of control.
Yeah. These are definitely, franchise altering moves for some organizations because, like you said, they're not rentals. I mean, you can get Tyler Anderson, and then he's part of your rotation for next year. And, you can have a team, I don't know, who's a bubble team right now? Look at the Braves. The Braves are like, 7 games out right now because the Phillies are so hot. This could help get them for sure to a playoff spot if it doesn't get them back in the division race.
Exactly. And I think if you were to get Renifo, he's a high intensity guy, but he's smart defensively, can play anywhere, and consistent playing time on a good team where he doesn't have to be the man and you could bat him 8th or 9th. He's going to be a star. And then Tyler Anderson with the Braves, man, that's a guy who can calm some of these young guys who, it's obvious the Braves are a little rattled with all the injuries, but he's a calming force that'll help anchor that rotation or help that rotation out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm looking at second place teams. Baltimore 49-30. They're in second place right now. Minnesota 43-35. They're 8.5 games out.
What about Fernando? Real quick, not to interrupt, but
You're good.
what about the Yankees making a move for Anderson?
Yeah, I didn't want to say that one for a reason, but the biggest reason for me, besides me hating the Yankees, they don't have a ton of great prospects at the moment, from if memory serves correctly.
Well, he's already got the cleanly shaven face and the nice haircut, so I mean, he would fit in right away.
That's true. I mean, I would look more to Baltimore. They have better prospects, and like I said, they have a couple of log jams. So
Gotcha.
maybe that's the kind of pieces you should look for.
I was just throwing that out there because I know the Yankees would probably come hard at him because of the rate of home runs that he's not giving up, and in a home run hitter's ballpark, that's very valuable.
Another team, the Phillies.
Yep.
You've done enough work with them already. Hell, bring back Brandon Marsh.
I'd take it.
Yeah, Brandon Marsh. Hey, we need and then ship off Ward.
Yeah. Give Ward a bench spot somewhere else.
Yeah. That's all I got, Todd. You got anything?
No, I just want to thank everybody that came out to Mezzo and supported us there Friday and Saturday. That was really nice. We had big crowds on both days, so appreciate that.
Yeah. It looked like a good time. I saw the videos, and we were getting tagged, so people seem to enjoy themselves.
Absolutely. Food's good too.
Hey, I'll have to check it out when I head out there.
Absolutely. So
You'll have to bring it to me to here when you visit.
yeah, dude, we're still set for that too. I can't wait to get out there and again try me. What's that called? The Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's, yeah. Man.
Can't wait to try that.
One of my buddies is flying out for the 4th of July to watch his Padres play. Him and I are going to go to the game.
Cool.
And he's bringing his girlfriend, and he was like, "Hey, she wants to go to Buc-ee's." I'm like, "All right, man."
You're like, you don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah, we went yesterday.
There
I
you
finally got my Texas license. And for anyone who's a long time listener of the show, I've lived here for almost 3 years.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, bro. I think you left like right when we started this thing almost.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, it's a good show, man. We covered a lot. There's a lot of news going on tonight. Real quick, this show's coming out in the morning, but Tuesday night we're doing this as we're watching the game. And Moniak went deep, hit a grand slam. So there's a plus.
Yeah, I saw that. Good for him, man. I mean, I want to cheer for the kid. I really do. But really, I just want to know what the organization is going to do with him going forward. And, if he can start to put together a nice season near the end and just come up with some respectable numbers, then maybe we can view him as a viable piece. But as of right now, it's too hard for a guy who's still not hitting his weight.
Correct. Yeah, I think he would at best finishing the season would be a guy you go, hey, let's take a flyer on him one more year. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about him batting 230 to 240 at the end of the year, I mean, that's still not great. But considering he was 160 at one point, I mean,
Yeah, that would be a win.
exactly. I would take 240. At least he finished strong.
Correct.
It's not always about how you start; it's how you finish. So
Yeah, exactly. Just ask Roger Lodge.
yeah, just ask Johnny Stamos.
They ask each other that all the time. So
Yeah, when they look in each other's eyes. Huck too.
I love our humor.
Yeah, exactly.
So for Todd Fox and the Lone Star Halo,
Bye, everybody.
later.